Welcome back to the CONVO couch, everyone. I am Pasta Jardula.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Jonny Sue is still spinning on those ones and twos. If you hear this voice going, it's getting ready for the game show today. Yep. ROKFIN exclusive at 5. We're going to have a little game show. Ron Placone and Kim Iverson will be joining, and so will Fiorella Isabel, who will be a contestant on Who Tweets Did It That.
So annoying.
I know. Listen, I'm trying to be happy and jokey. I'm being the sacrificial lamb here, fam, because we have some news.
It's not.
Some of us predicted, some of us didn't. Some said yes, some said no. We really didn't know what was going to happen until it happened, but it did happen today, fam. I will give you the microphone and the floor.
So it happened today. This is what happened. There are internal issues going on between Sanders' campaign that forced them to basically completely just throw off, because they were supposed to go to the convention, and he came out and addressed his supporters, but before he addressed the supporters, the press received a notice saying Bernie Sanders is going to just let his staff know that he's suspending his campaign, and he will address the rest of his supporters after the fact. So he basically got on into a live stream and said, I'm suspending my campaign for president of the United States. The movement continues, the fight continues. But the problem with that is he is getting absolutely nothing out of this. I mean, he is absolutely getting zero for us out of this. And the whole point that he was supposed to do and be committed to was go to the convention and get as much as he could for progressives, even if he didn't win. Hold Biden's feet to the fire. Make sure that all of the things that he wants are actually being addressed and talked about, especially during this pandemic. It was a perfect moment for him to seize that and go and lead. And he didn't do it. He actually instead is deciding to support Joe Biden. He didn't endorse him, but he said, I am going to work to defeat the most dangerous president in modern history. And he called Joe Biden a decent man. And he pretty much capitulated to the entire Democratic establishment. And I knew he was going to endorse Joe Biden, but what I didn't think he would be dumb enough to do, or his campaign would be dumb enough to do, is to drop out before he had any sort of leverage in the convention, because I think that literally leaves everybody else like, well, what do you want us to do now? You have no leverage. But what he's saying is he's on the ballot for the rest of the 26 remaining states that are left to vote. And he thinks that people are still going to vote for him because he's on the ballot, and he's still going to use all the delegates he has to try to get some sort of platform in the Democratic Party. But here's what's wrong with that. He has zero leverage now because he decided to drop out. Everybody's angry. Everybody's pissed off. 4 years ago, I was upset. I was depressed. It was bad. Everybody was. I mean, weeks. We were all really sad. We were all crying. This time when this happened, there was nothing but anger within me. Nothing but anger. Straight up anger. Because he did exactly what he shouldn't have done. And he went out and pretty much said, here's Joe Biden, rapist Joe Biden. This is a guy we need to I feel bad because we're having these primaries during COVID-19. That's bullshit. This is what these advisors said. Bernie, you need to drop out because, there's no point in having these primaries during this pandemic, this coronavirus. You need to drop out because you're putting people's lives in danger. And he listened to that. He literally listened to that blackmail, that gaslighting, the manipulation of, drop out. We need to protect people. First of all, people are going to die regardless, Bernie, and that has nothing to do with you. That has to do with the fact that we have a virus. There's nothing anyone could do about that, but also how it's being handled. And that was decades and decades of neoliberalism that led to Donald Trump. And we can't forget that. And people forget that. And so there is just no rationalizing what he did. His most ardent supporters today are really angry and telling him and letting him know. And what people don't realize is, like I said, 4 years ago, I was upset and blah, blah, blah. But 4 years ago, even people like Pasta said, okay, I'm going to vote for Hillary Clinton. Now, you're going to get those same people that are absolutely not only not going to vote for Biden, but never again vote for another Democrat. The only good thing out of all of this is that it is the death of the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is right now in shambles, and I can't wait to see it burn down. I am personally excited to see it burn down.
Okay. So let me give my sense. Thank you, fam, for that. I know it's a tough day today. You know, we got a text early this morning. Let's be nice to one each other. It's going to be a rough day. But for me, I thought this was, once again, it was like that game. It was over at halftime. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of people, no offense, were a little bit fooling themselves to think that Bernie wasn't going to drop out at this point and go to the convention because it had already been lost. It had already been lost when he refused to call out the election integrity issues. It had already been lost when he started the Russiagate. It had already been lost when he said Joe Biden is my friend and could beat Donald Trump. Everything within this campaign he ran, I think in this position, the thing that's really different from 2016 to 2020 today is that we're in a worse off spot, fam.
Yeah.
He capitulated too much to the establishment along the way, thinking that he can get by and win this nomination. You said so yourself on your tweet. You're saying, listen, if Sanders, who's one of the most cleanest guys, whether you believe in his ideology or not, he's clean. You know what I'm saying? Everybody in the House and the Senate considers him the most honest man in politics nowadays in Congress. But if he's not going to get through, who else is going to get through? So I'm not about going to the convention this year either as well. And I don't care about this, leave my name on the ballot. You're not getting shit because the Democratic Party will never give you shit. They didn't give us shit last time. They're not going to give us shit this time. Any little thing they gave us now wasn't insignificant to what we need. What we need, the revolution and why we started, we can get it right now. Okay, that's something we need to concentrate on. I'm not as much disappointed in Bernie Sanders dropping out and endorsing Joe Biden today as I am for the fact that he's not calling for a general strike. He should say, I'm dropping out. And say, guess what, Trump? Now I'm going to show you what it's like to sweat. Shut it down. Right now, he played by the rules with the Democratic Party. Give them the big FU. I'm dropping out, going back to being independent. Let me be an independent warrior. But we're worser off today in 2020, the movement is, than it was in 2016. Plain and simple. We capitulated too much. We played by their rules. We joined their fucking party, and we got left on a stranded fucking island.
Yeah, I mean,
Plain and simple.
I mean, yeah, and the thing is, we're worse off not only politically but economically. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and we were already heading towards a depression, and now we have a depression plus a pandemic, and people were looking to a leader like Bernie Sanders to actually help propel people into this whole general strike, which is already happening. I mean, these things are going to happen regardless of Bernie Sanders, and we've been saying that on the show. Like, this needs to happen regardless of Bernie Sanders. But the fact is, people look to him as a leader, and the fact that he didn't lead instead and went on and pretty much did what a good little Democrat would do is not what we're here for. We were here to pretty much take over the Democratic Party, to push it off and start something new. We were never here to be reformists, and that's the thing. Bernie Sanders is acting like a reformist, not a revolutionary. You cannot change the Democratic Party. You cannot fix it. There is no fixing the Democratic Party. There are already people, and I said this on my Twitter, who are waiting. Like, already, AOC 2024, Tulsi 2024, under a Democratic Party? No, that it's not going to happen, or they're going to capitulate to the establishment and nothing's going to change. Stop pushing the Democratic Party. It is a done deal. It is, that's it. I don't mind people supporting congressional candidates or state candidates, but even that, we need to build an outside mass movement that it could potentially be a party or multiple parties, but a mass movement of people. And it's got to be the people. You can't rely on someone to come save you 4 years from now thinking that they're the answer, because that's our mistake. That's been our mistake all along, is relying on these people as if they're Jesus Christ incarnate, when they're like, as if they're going to lead the people to paradise. And that's just not how this works. You're going to have to get your hands dirty. You're going to have to get out there and do the work. Yeah. And let me tell you something. The lack of, like I said, the lack of building of coalitions on the progressive side, like right now, if in fact Bernie was going to lead a movement, he'd be on the phone, Hey, Andrew, I got math for you. We're going to strike. 0 workers means no profits. How you like that math? CNN,
Meet me.
Andrew?
Tulsi, I know we've had problems. Get your people. We're striking. Elizabeth, let's squash it. Let's get our people out there. We're going to strike. Tom, I know you're a billionaire and I should have said hi to you at the debate, but I was getting bothered. Let's get together. Let's get people. Let's strike. There's a group of people waiting to take to the streets right now. Well, not even take to the streets of the COVID. Just draw the line. Say, I ain't paying rent. I ain't going to work. And I ain't paying off my credit cards. Let's fucking do this and let's get what we want. But it's not going to happen. Somebody has to come forth. We have to come forth.
We have to be.
But once again, like maybe a union leader or somebody, I don't know, but somebody's got to come together. We need organizers that can really get people to work together on the same page because we still have the same problem. Fiorella, when Tulsi Gabbard dropped out, I got phone calls from 3 people. I told you. Like they texted me. They couldn't wait to do it. Do you think I gave those people the same phone calls? No. That's the problem. The infighting with each other. If my phone call would be different to them. We'd be like, hey, man, I'm really, really sorry things didn't work out today. Not like, see, I told you. You know what I'm saying? But that's been the attitude within the whole progressive movement. And there's people that are not willing to work with people who think differently than them. And in fact, they call them names if they think differently than them.
Well, I'm not willing to work with any sort of establishment person anymore. I'm entirely done. I mean, that's what I'm not. I'll work with any progressive. But here's the thing, Pasta. You mentioned Elizabeth Warren, Tom Steyer, Andrew Yang. I don't consider them to be progressive. I don't consider them to be part of the progressive movement. Andrew Yang right now is getting paid the big bucks to talk at CNN and be a pundit and say all these things that don't even make sense. I don't trust those people. Again, we don't know like who like. Well,
it's too late. It's too far down the road now because things have happened. You know what I'm saying? But in the beginning, you gotta listen. You gotta pull people into. You gotta pull clans into your side that you normally would fight with. You gotta do it to beat that establishment. And in the beginning, all those people we're talking about, maybe Elizabeth. You know what I'm saying? Elizabeth could have got a waiver maybe for the money she's gotten because of her fights that she had on the Senate floor. Maybe we could have done that, but it didn't happen. And not the fact that it didn't happen with all of them, fam. No. It didn't happen with any of them. So there's no excuses. Bernie did not do what he needed to do. There are no excuses. He didn't make any coalitions with anybody.
Yeah, he didn't make them with anybody, but I wouldn't want to make them with establishment shills. So that's the thing. That's what I disagree on. I mean, I just think we're at a point where we don't need the establishment anymore. The moment you accept corruption, it overtakes you. This is what people have done.
I don't want to get into that argument again about what Elizabeth Warren is, whatnot, but their actions on the floor of the Senate, Elizabeth Warren was feared by fucking Geithner. Bernie Sanders wasn't. And they both of them who said they wouldn't get involved, the reason why they got involved with politics was to fight Big Wall Street, buckled, and they both signed on it.
Sure, but you take the money and that's it. Once you take that money, that's it. It's a done deal. You took the money.
Oopsie says, one question, what if Bernie had not been able to recover from his heart attack? What we have done then? This is what we should have been doing now, whatever that is. In other words, like you said, fam, we don't wait for Bernie Sanders. We just got to act on our own.
Yeah.
Renstein, thank you for the super chat contribution. Is always appreciated in the house. We're going to get through these tweets right after. It hurts to be right about Bernie and all the election issues that we have fought. We have to fight from scratch now. 4 years wasted, says Renstein. I don't know if it's wasted because you got us.
I don't think it's wasted.
You got us. You got people, but I think we did move backwards when it came to the
campaign moved backwards. Absolutely.
It moved the movement a little backwards.
But I think it exposed everything. I think this just shows just how corrupt the Democratic Party is. Because if Bernie Sanders did everything right, played by all of the rules, still didn't get in, that tells you that it's the party that's the problem, not the candidate. You can put any candidate and they're not going to win if they're true progressive. Mm. They're not, because there was problems with the candidate.
If
there was pasta, but the majority of the issue is that the Democratic Party
that's his choice
rigged
to run in
the
there.
Elections.
He could have won independent this time. He
chose
to go that route.
He wouldn't have won either independent this time.
That's
the thing.
That it doesn't make it. We would win if a third party was started.
I agree with that. So, but people are even now they're hesitant to do that. That's what I mean. We need to build an outside movement. We can't do it now
because we said the sore loser law. You can't jump out and try to run as a third party.
No,
you're not allowed to get on the ballot.
I mean in the future. I mean we need to build something outside of it.
You have the New York Times picture you wanted to show, John? It says Bernie Sanders drops out of 2020.
Well, we were just going to show
Democratic race for president. And we have some tweets for some people. And the first one is a guy, I don't know why this guy doesn't run for the Green Party. Feel sorry for those Sanders supporters who really thought they were taking part in a revolution. Ajamu Baraka. And I've always been a little bit upset at Ajamu at times for being so hard on Bernie Sanders, but what can you say now? I guess you were right. Because we don't have a revolution now.
Yeah.
Mehdi Hassan, fam, your favorite. Half my mentions is Biden diehards trying to vote shame and vote skull Bernie supporters into blindly backing their candidate. The other half is Bernie diehards grandly proclaiming they'll never vote for Biden. Trump and company must be laughing their backsides off. We may be fucked. Fam?
So here it goes. So you're gonna see all the quote unquote progressive journalists capitulating already. You're gonna see them say, well, now we just need to make sure we get, Bernie's gonna move Biden to the left. Bernie thinks he's gonna get all these things for us progressives, so we have to support what Bernie does. Bernie knows, he's had 40 years of experience. He's right. We have to do what Bernie says. No, fuck that. Like, we already did. A lot of people did 4 years ago. They did what Bernie asked them to, and guess what? It didn't matter because Hillary Clinton lost to Donald Trump, and we knew from the start Joe Biden will lose to Donald Trump. This is basically giving the election to Joe Biden right now. We don't even need to have an election. Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Donald Trump's going to win.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is absolutely going to destroy Joe Biden. And people like Mehdi Hassan, who are vote blue no matter who, are going to start comparing Bernie supporters to Trumpers, or to, they're going to like belittle you and vote shame you. And that's what's going to happen. But they were going to do that anyway. It didn't matter what Bernie did. If Bernie would have been harder on Biden, they would have done it anyway. They did it anyway. That's the whole point. That's why everybody was so mad, because Bernie Sanders didn't really have the strength, the boldness to go after Biden the right way he should have gone. He kept calling him his friend. He kept saying that in his speech recently today. He said Joe Biden is a decent man. I mean, people were waiting for him to say that. I mean, I was in a chat with a bunch of Bernie organizers, and we're all like, Jesus, like, they were all yelling at Bernie. They were saying, fuck Bernie, like, fuck you, Bernie. I can't believe you did this, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that is where we're at right now. We are not back where we were before, where we were like sad. No, we're angry, and we're angry because we have lost so much.
And you're split, and we're split. There's people that, like, just don't, their attitudes and their actions, the way they acted out there sometimes, fam, it was just terrible. It's like, I don't want to work with these people ever again. I thought they were just so destructive. You know what I'm saying? They just couldn't listen to anybody outside their own fucking echo chamber. And there's a lot of progressives who did that. And the majority of the Bernie people were great. The majority of the Tulsi people were great. But outside those two groups, there were some just fucking really stupid, toxic people on both sides. And it's going to be hard because I think more than anything, it's the issues we got to get back around. We got to get behind the issues. And the issue of election integrity here in LA needs to be addressed and needs to be taken on around the whole country.
And that's the main issue that led to Bernie's demise. You can talk about all the campaign's failures all day, but bottom line, the election. If Bernie Sanders had had a fair election in every state, he would be winning right now, and Joe Biden would have dropped out.
Despite his flaws.
Despite his flaws, there's absolutely no question that
he
that's
still
what
should be the leader. He should have been the voted on, despite his bullshit.
And I bet you, if we look through the machines, if we somehow had access to the ballots, we would see that the results would be entirely different.
Had he run a perfect campaign and built bridges, who knows if he would have had enough to get across the finish line. No. We'll never know that, but we can't ignore the election rigging that's taking place, and it is plain rigging, on a high level.
Yeah, and it's not. We've been talking about this since the beginning of the election. So this isn't just because we're upset Bernie lost. This is like we've been talking about this since the very beginning of the election.
So real quick, let's show this MSNBC clip of what Bernie said today on MSNBC.
On a practical note, let me also say this. I will stay on the ballot in all remaining states and continue to gather delegates. While Vice President Biden will be the nominee, we must continue working to assemble as many delegates as possible at the Democratic Convention, where we will be able to exert significant influence over the party platform and other functions.
Dan Campbell with the Super Chat contribution says, couldn't care less about a candidate being progressive. My priorities are 1, anti-establishment, 2, not willing to endorse their party's corporatist candidate, 3, promise to free Assange, and 4, oppose to executive orders. Thank you for the Super Chat contribution, Dan Campbell. It is always appreciated on the couch.
So, I mean, a progressive is now a diluted term because Nancy Pelosi calls herself a progressive. So what I mean by progressive is somebody that pretty much has all the values that you mentioned, plus a few more things.
I got to laugh because right now, oopsie, thank you for the Super Chat contribution. Is always appreciated on the couch. Fam, peep this and think about this one. Sore loser law. He can't run as a president candidate. He can't run as a president candidate for president. Well,
As a presidential candidate?
yeah, he can't run as a presidential candidate, but he can run as a VP anywhere. What if Joe Biden taps Bernie Sanders and says, "You're my vice president"?
I'm still not voting for that ticket.
Ooh, what?
I can't vote for that ticket. Why would I vote for that ticket? I mean, unless someone promises me to off Joe Biden. I mean, I can't. It's a moral thing. Like, I'm not voting for another corporatist again. So that would mean me breaking that.
They're not going
and
to do
voting
that.
for Joe
They're
Biden.
not going to do that. He already said he's going to do a woman.
Exactly.
Vice president.
And they're not going to do that.
I'm a Italian grandma inside in my past life. Renstead says time wasted equals liberal gatekeepers wasting our time with BS instead of focusing on election integrity until it's too late.
Yeah,
there are just certain moves that Bernie Sanders made that are just so disappointing when it comes to it, because now we're not even looking at that. Now people are accepting these results, fam, as religion.
And they're not.
And it's not. Johnny, what else we got?
I think we were on the.
Oh, sorry, the shameless plug. Fiorella's tweet. I love it. It says, I'm sorry, I gotta get it up. It says, if you're already considering running another progressive under the Democratic Party in 4 years, you haven't learned a goddamn thing. Bernie is the cleanest guy, and even he couldn't get through.
Yep.
They rigged it twice. The party cannot be reformed.
And because I'm already seeing, like I said, people wanting like AOC to run, wanting like if it's under a Democratic ticket, you guys, I'm not behind it. I'm sorry. I don't care if it's AOC. I don't care if it's Tulsi. I'm not going to get behind another Democratic ticket. It is a giant waste of time. We need to focus our efforts on outside the Democratic Party. And to be honest, like, I hope the Democratic Party, of course, is in shambles, in ashes by the time we are done with it. We need to focus on the striking, on the general striking, on getting everything we can get. That's it.
I'm kind of curious about that whole situation, too, as well. If Tulsi tries to come out running 2024. Michael Tracy will be on the show tomorrow at 3 p.m. We'll ask him that question, see what the future lies. Johnny, AJ, breaking news.
No, we're skipping that.
Go ahead.
And then, let's see. I don't know. What is this, fam? You put this in the photo.
That's Donald Trump.
Yeah, so this is Donald Trump's reaction.
I don't necessarily agree with this, but...
You gonna read it?
Yeah, can you read
Bernie
it?
Sanders is out. Thank you to Elizabeth Warren. If not for her, Bernie would have won almost every state on Super Tuesday! ! This ended just like the Democrats and the DNC wanted to. Same as the crooked Hillary fiasco. The Bernie people should come to the Republican Party. Trade!
So I agree that Elizabeth Warren had a lot to do with it, but more than Elizabeth Warren, obviously, is the rigging and the other. But he mentioned the DNC. This is what they wanted. This is exactly what they wanted. This is just like Hillary
Donald
Clinton.
Trump wanted.
And this is, but the whole point is, he's calling people over to his side. And I think some people are going to go over to his side. I really do.
Oh, yeah.
And guess what? The neoliberals can come and yell at us all they want. But the reality is it's not our fault. And I'm not going to blame anybody for doing that, because in this case, Joe Biden is the evil, the worst evil. I'm not voting for either of them, but this is the point where some people just want to see the Democratic Party destroyed, and I can't blame them for that.
Johnny?
Yeah, so Propaganda sent us this video.
About people going to Wisconsin and voting in the middle of this pandemic, I mean, really putting their lives on the line. And you said, well, if they do that, vote by mail, perhaps we'll have voter fraud in this country. I just wanted to ask you, voters in 5 states, Utah, Colorado, Hawaii, Washington, and Oregon, all vote by mail. Can you or the White House staff or your campaign provide any evidence to back up your claim that mail-in voting is rife with fraud, like the example you gave of people working in rooms filling out false ballots? You've been talking about voter fraud since the beginning of this administration.
Very fair.
And where's the evidence of it?
I think there's a lot of evidence, but we'll provide you with some, okay? And there's evidence that's being compiled, just like it's being compiled in the state of California, where they settled with Judicial Watch, saying that 1 million people should not have been voting. And you saw that? Did you, wait, excuse me. Well, I'm just telling you. I'm telling you, in California, in the great state of California, they settled, and we could have gone a lot further. Judicial Watch settled where they agreed that 1 million people should not have voted, where they were 115 years old and lots of things, and people were voting in their place. What I see. And, every one of those states that you mentioned is a state that happens to be won by the Democrats. And if you have a position like me where it's registered, you're here, and we're voting someplace where I'm not. I haven't left the White House in, I guess, months, other than to, ask a ship to, wave it goodbye to New York, being...
Well, for the
It hasn't, but if you're a senior citizen and if you're somebody that have to be all of the things that are happening with votes by mail, where thousands of votes are gathered, and I'm not going to say which party does it, but thousands of votes are gathered and they come in and they're dumped in a location, and then all of a sudden you lose elections that you think you're going to win. I won't stand for it. Well, we're going to find out about the proof because you're going to see what's going on. And I'm not going to stand for it. Our voting system, first of all, we should have voter ID. When you vote, you should have voter ID. And if you send something in, you should be sure, as a state and as a country, you should be sure that that vote is meaningful and it's not just made fraudulently because there's a...
Okay.
Okay,
Good.
no.
I was going to say, listen, I like the conversation that's going on because now we're going to really
No.
start opening up a can of worms. No. I'm saying we need to start just talking about this going on because the Republicans are going to always talk about the cheating tactics of the Democrats. They're not going to talk about all the things that go by in the voter suppression. Fam, if you're shaking your head no and you want to talk, go ahead and talk because I don't know what you're shaking your head no for.
He's literally saying this is all voter fraud, and we need to define the difference between voter fraud and election fraud because what he's saying is there's people voting in California who shouldn't have voted. He's referring to illegals. He's referring to
Not
people
that
who are
particular
115
situation.
years old. That's what he was saying in the beginning.
No, he was referring to the same tactic that the Democrats used against Kennedy and fucking
he's
Nixon. No, there was a bunch of mail-ins for people that were dead that the Democratic Party had access to get those ballots counted for their person. That's what he's referring to.
And
Yeah,
I'm sure his right base would be like, oh yeah, the illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's who
That's
they cry about.
That's
Oh,
what
the
it sounded
illegals.
like to me because
Yeah.
I didn't know about.
No. That tactic right here was the same tactic that Kennedy used in, I think it was Chicago, where they sent in a bunch of dead people's ballots to vote for Kennedy.
Is
over
that
Nixon.
really a concern? Is that really a top concern, though? Why, if he's so adamant to drain the swamp, why isn't he talking about election fraud, voter suppression that part of his party was responsible for just now in Wisconsin? He's turning it around and making this about the voters. Now he's asking for voter ID. No, you shouldn't have an ID to go vote. You shouldn't need an ID to go vote. That's fucking laws from 200 years ago.
I disagree. I think ID should be free because the argument for voter ID is that it's a privilege, right? To afford to have
old people don't have
voter
it.
ID.
A lot of
So it should be free to get an ID, and then you should have it to vote. Because I don't want anyone that's not a U.S. citizen to vote. That's me.
if that's your top concern, your concerns are out of whack.
That's not your top concern.
It's not the
that's
top
one
concern.
tactic he's
Yeah, it's one
talking about
concern.
It's
right
a
here.
huge tactic that they rely on, which then in turn causes the Democrats to completely ignore election fraud. It's both. They're playing against each other, and none of them are addressing the core issue of the problem, which is election fraud. Because Democrats
all
want to elect
tactics. Yeah.
some voter suppression the Republicans are doing, and the Republicans are like, oh, these Democrats want to vote. If your priority is that illegals are voting, please show me a statistic that's really turned over the election.
No, hell no.
No, that's not
They're
a thing.
scared.
But that's not what he's talking about. Here.
That
He's
is
talking-
what he's leading
No,
on.
he's
He didn't
talking
say
about the
that.
mail-in ballot, which the Democrats did again in California.
He didn't say
they sent
illegal
How do you
immigrants.
think Joe Biden got so many votes? They got a bunch of dead people's mail-ins and sent them in, fam. That's the one thing. But he's only talking about the one tactic. He's not talking about what the Republicans do to suppress the vote.
He didn't
by
say
throwing away,
anything about illegal immigrants.
He didn't have to.
He didn't have to,
Yeah.
but
I know what
we'd
he's
be
talking
making
about.
assumptions of that, and making assumptions is bad. But I mean, it's
When you
it's-
start
it's
talking
it's
about
like an
voter
80%,
ID,
it's a-
when you start talking about voter ID, old people that don't exist and dead people, that's voter fraud. It's completely different than election fraud, and it's a slippery slope once you get
anyways,
into that.
at least he's saying something, and Bernie's not saying shit about anything. Okay.
I
he
mean,
said
that's
stuff about voter suppression, so you can argue the same thing.
And he didn't say anything about anyone going to. You know what? I just don't. Can we just talk about all the bad things that Bernie has done? He didn't give a shit about people going to vote in Wisconsin yesterday.
Yeah, that's
and he
what-
suspends his fucking
that's
campaign
what I wanna
today.
talk about,
He
actually.
he hasn't called out the election rigging. He hasn't started a movement, a general strike movement. He didn't garner the troops together to form a coalition to actually what you're saying, Pasta.
Yeah.
He's done so much. I'm going to ask for my donations. He's done not a lot. I'm going to ask for my donations back because what he did, he took all our money, and what did he do? He ran a false campaign. He didn't fight for us, and he gave it to all the consultants, all those establishment consultants. I was getting texts every day. I can go back through all my emails, getting like 2 emails a day to ask for more money.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about those consultants, but really quick, I do want to highlight what you just said regarding Wisconsin, because my friends in Wisconsin are really upset. How dare you let these people vote? Risk their lives already. The damage is done. Then the next day go and drop out of the race when those people's votes haven't even been counted. You could have at least waited until the after, or we're talking about people risking their lives to vote for you, and you literally didn't say a word. You let them go, then you drop out the next day. That to me is freaking awful. It's beyond disappointing to a lot of these people that really had a lot, I know people who quit their jobs for Bernie.
Yeah.
To volunteer. Yeah. And he's right about the consultants' money, because we're going to be talking about just how much money Chuck Rocha liked to spend, not on the hotels he was given money for, but on extra luxury hotels that he wanted to completely get on his own level. Yeah. And there's an article that I want to go over, because there's a lot that's going to start coming out, like we've been talking about, of the failures of the Sanders campaign. And the reason I want to talk about it isn't to double down on, oh yeah, Bernie, blah blah blah. It's because I want these fake progressives, these people that have seeped into and co-opted our movement, to get the fuck out and to be exposed for who they are, so we don't the same mistake again. Because this is what always happens in movements. They co-opt it, the establishment comes in, pretends to be one of you, and they destroy you from the inside. These people literally destroyed Bernie's campaign.
Bernie has to take accountability for
Absolutely.
that. He let them in the front door.
Absolutely.
Mad Wolf says, don't care if Bernie's Biden's VP. I would never vote for an effing neoliberal. Hashtag never DNC. No. Not now. Not in 2024. Not ever. Neoliberals will cry us a river come November. Mad Wolf, they can cry all they want. They ain't getting my vote. Thank you for the super chat contribution, Mike Giarmita. Love that name. That's my Italian paisan. Check out my Instagram for my gnocchi bolognese. How do we find out how many people Dem exit today? I don't know how we would find that out, Mike, but I bet you it's a lot, because that's the thing I'm thinking about coming around again. It's like anybody attached to the Democratic Party, it's got to be a no-go, fam. It's got to be a no-go. No more reforming. And, what do you say to those people who have like the Feel the Burn Democratic Club or these other burn kind of groups?
Melissa made a statement. I haven't read it
I
yet,
read it. I didn't like it. But the whole thing I'm trying to say is that isn't it time maybe not as a negative connotation? Do you think they should keep the name the Feel the Burn Democratic Club, or then maybe change it to Progressives Moving Forward, or something that really...
Progressives is staying too.
Yeah, or like the People Moving Forward.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. But we have to... The thing is that these groups... I'm not saying that we do this to diss Bernie Sanders, because I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we have to get something mentally wise that gives us the courage to say we got to move forward on our own. We got to leave him on the island, like Jack. Or no, what's the blonde guy?
Sawyer.
Leave Sawyer on the island. Jump out of Bernie just jumped out of the helicopter. He ain't getting off the island. So what do? We got to move forward together.
Of course, move forward. Real quick, I just want to show this tweet. So Kid Cudi said Bernie will always be the man. So I know some people feel that, and I'm not there. I'm with the person below who said, because we will always appreciate a dude giving up on our country twice after blowing millions of supporter funding.
Okay, I'm in between those two.
I'm right there. I'm in
between those two, because I agree. Thank you, Bernie, and I said it to him for 40 years of working hard, and at one point he was a revolutionary guy. Not anymore, and this happens with age. He's tired. He seemed tired. His voice was cracked. I mean, the guy needs some rest. Whatever. He's not gonna do what we wanted him to do, and that's fine, because we're gonna continue the fight. But it is unfortunate that he let so many people down because they were counting on him. And that is our own mistake, to count on one person to do the things that should be done by millions of people.
He didn't just let people down. He let people die. Okay? Because he's not fighting to get Medicare for all. He's not fighting the election integrity. If you really want to talk about that. He's letting people die. He's not being the leader he portrayed himself to be as.
He stopped fighting. He stopped fighting the moment he became soft, and the moment he let the Democratic Party rule whatever he wanted. I mean, he has fought. You can't say he hasn't fought for it, because he's been trying to get that for the last 40
in the most
years.
critical moment,
In the most
he
critical
doesn't fight.
moment, he literally failed to actually
fizzes
put
out.
up
He
a good
fizzles
He's a
out
pony
fucking-
face, boot licking soldier. What is it? What did Joe Biden say? Pony face, dog licking soldier?
No, that's not.
Something like that, stupid like that. All right, Johnny, we got anything else?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah?
Well, I just wanted to show that Cardi B, I don't know,
Well,
she's doing this thing where she's
Oh.
giving out $1,000 every hour to those in need. I just wanted to show this because she's doing, I don't know, some people in the chat last time I showed something about Cardi was like, oh, she's so dumb. But she's so dumb, but she's giving out $1,000 every hour
She's not.
until
She's street smart.
$1
She's
million.
different kind of smart.
Yo, Cardi.
I think she's doing more than Bernie Sanders instead of
Holler
taking
at
our
the
money.
couch.
I wanted to show. I put that article down. I told you, in the folder.
Free bacon,
Yeah.
free beacon.
All right, after this article, we got to get on out because we have a show at 5 o'clock. Fam, what do we got here?
So, as I said, I was going to start talking about this, and it's basically an ex-Bernie staffer who worked as a surrogate lashed out against the campaign, saying they treated us like slaves. And so, former Bernie campaign surrogate Jamal Green attacked the campaign's leadership Monday, alleging widespread mistreatment of black surrogates. The 24-year-old Black Lives Matter activist claimed that the campaign officials Heather Goutney and Shasti Conrad ran the surrogates team into the ground and treated us black surrogates like they were slaves. And there's a tweet here where the Heather Goutney, she's a national surrogate director for Bernie Sanders, and Shasti Conrad ran the surrogate team from the ground and treated us black surrogates like they were slaves. What nerve to block me because I criticized the camp. And then he published a statement saying that he was asked to leave the Sanders campaign because, quote, his tolerance level for racism is low and his tweets, quote, tell too much of the truth. Green later deleted his statement and said he wished to protect a staff member. He said, this is how they feel about me going to the internet. Even though shit is not great and they treated us like shit, I should keep my mouth shut. And here's the text. Hopefully your first duty at SA is to get Shasti fired. Straight up, bro, I've been in negotiations with them for a month. I know shit is not great, but going to the internet, we could have talked about it. And another major surrogate, you all go tell Heather Goutney and Obama's Shasti Conrad that they should have never ran a surrogate team treating black surrogates like help. More receipts coming. Don't trip. Shasti Conrad worked for the Obama era before. And he said, I haven't had one call with the campaign team since I joined back as a surrogate. They make all of my communications go through Nina. This is Jamal. And they said, I haven't got a call, but I just go wherever I need to go and do the work. What I have grown to feel is that whatever happens with black folk with this campaign, we will be what we build. So basically, he argued that these staffers felt marginalized, that they couldn't communicate with the Sanders campaign unless it was through Nina Turner. And they brought up the problems about Jeff Weaver supposedly destroying the Sanders campaign, saying they had, quote, sunk his ship, and that he hadn't revealed the most damaging information yet. And yeah, so there's all this stuff going on. This is just the tip of the iceberg, because he mentioned Weaver, and then in another tweet later, he mentions Fies. And I want to highlight these people because these are two of the people that pretty much stabbed Bernie in the back continuously. They did not inform Bernie of all the things he needed to be informed on.
What else is new?
And
Their establishment, and he fucking hired establishment campaign people. Okay.
Well,
yeah, I
but
mean,
it's not that
like,
simple.
It
and
is that simple. He hired bad people.
No, it's not that simple.
And it kind of ruined his campaign. And
It's not that
has
simple.
No
I mean,
backbone,
it's
and
not
I don't
that
know,
simple.
It's like fucking...
It's not that simple. But this is the reason I'm pointing this out is because I want us to understand that you cannot build a grassroots campaign or a grassroots movement with people from inside the establishment. This is what always happens. Oh yeah, we're gonna come work with you. We're doing the right thing, and we changed our mind, and we're gonna be there. And they never do. They change you and your campaign, and they drag you. And like I said, more of this stuff is going to come out. This is just the tip of the iceberg. You're going to see all these Bernie people start talking about how they were treated. I don't feel like this was necessarily a racial thing. I feel like this is how they treated people up and down the state. You can take those comments about how they were treated like slaves and then come to LA and talk about how they were treated top down.
Yeah, trust me.
It was bad.
It was a bad thing. But that's, once again, at the end of the day, it has to go on Bernard's shoulders. He's the one who allowed these people to run his campaign. he shouldn't have, and it was just a lost
Just
opportunity.
total failure, honestly.
Today was just cementing exactly what we've kind of felt. The last 2 months have been crazy. I topped that up with the coronavirus. It's just been one whole shit hurricane, fam, that's just hit us. And we're from Florida, so we know what hurricanes are like.
And then the next step is really just to figure out what we're doing next.
Yeah.
It should be the general strike movement.
General
Yeah.
strike.
Patrick S. says, how about a couch party? Question mark. That's what we can do next. Fam, next week is my birthday. I'm an old man. 47.
What is that supposed to mean?
47. Bake me a cake.
Oh, yeah, right. You don't want me to bake you a cake.
All right, guys, let's get out of here. Gabbard Ventura 2024. I don't know about that. We'll see. But come on back in about a half hour. We're going to be on ROKFIN with a game show today with Ron Placone, Kim Iverson, and Fiorella Isabel. Johnny Sue will be the Vanna White. We'll see you then for Pasta Jardula.
And Fee.
Johnny Sue on those ones and twos.
Peace. It's exclusive to premium members. We have to give them something, you know?
Yeah, we're going to give you something. Come on over. We'll tell you.
Yeah. Peace.
Bye.
Peace.